Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. It's Kieran here. I am in the pretty glorious Lake District here. I'm up here to run the 5 Valleys Ultra. It's part of the 13 Valleys Ultra race series. We've got a 56 kilometre with about 2,300 metres of climbing through the beautiful Lake District. And today I'm going to be doing a race test of the new Garmin Fenix 8 up against the Garmin Enduro 3. I have got the Garmin Enduro 2 on there with a chest strap paired to it for benchmarking. I've also got the ASICS Metafuji Trail on my feet. I've got some Shokz headphones here, and also I've got these new Nike shades to test as well whilst I'm out there. So we're going to be doing a test of all that gear, and we'll be bringing you how I find it. Maybe 7 or 8 hours running, but weather's good so far. I think it's going to rain later, so I'll make the most of it now. But yeah, anyway, we're about half an hour away from the start, so let's go get ready.
Check in with the team. It's our website.
Coming up to about 3 hours in. We've done about 12 miles, just hit the first aid station. We've done one quite big climb and one big descent. We've had all sorts thrown at the shoes so far, and the first stretch of this was pretty runnable, a bit stony at times, but nothing too taxing, and the shoes performed really well. You know, it's the kind of terrain that the Metafuji are going to do well in. Then next thing I felt, when you hit the kind of steep grassy climbs, the grip went a bit. There's not enough grip when you're getting onto these kind of big patches of sort of wet grass, and I've got a bit of sort of wheel spinning going on. Again, that was kind of manageable, it was okay. And then we hit the descents. We've just been down some quite steep stuff there, which is fairly technical, loads of rocks everywhere, lots of uneven ground, really steep, the kind of stuff where momentum just carries you and you're having to put the brakes on. And that's where these shoes have got a big problem. The stability is no good. I've been ankle rolling a lot, you know, it's firing me off in all directions. I'm really struggling. I don't think it's just these shoes, you know, terrain is testing and difficult, and I've seen some other people doing the same, but you've got a fairly big stack on here. It's pretty wobbly, and that energy, even when you're running bits that are sort of steep and stony but kind of runnable, I'm feeling like I'm not completely in control, and it's not a very comfortable feeling. So I haven't enjoyed that last section. Actually, it's basically, I felt like I'm really in danger of doing an ankle, and I don't think that's entirely the shoes, so I'm not saying it's just down to the Metafuji, but this terrain, you know, it was a test. It was the reason I brought them out here, because I wanted to see if they could carbon plate that kind of flight foam blast foam hold up in this kind of stuff. And I think I'm getting my answer here, which is it's just a bit too lively and energetic for somebody like me who's not particularly gifted on those steep technical downs. I would be struggling on some of those anyway in shoes that were more stable, more ground contact, more controlled. But yeah, it's a struggle. It really is at the moment, and it's not left me looking forward to the next one. But we crack on. So that is the Five Valleys Ultra done. I think it took me just short of 8 hours, 35, 36 miles or something. Big takeaways here for the Metafuji are that they're not ideal for that terrain. There's lots of nice runnable bits where the shoe comes to life, but when you're on the steep technical descents, there's just not enough grip. They are a little bit too energetic, there's too much bounce, there's not enough stability. There, a lot of times I was hitting uneven ground and I was getting quite a lot of roll on the ankles, and I just didn't feel 100% in control. When you hit the roads and in the valleys and the runnable bits, they come to life and they're great for that. But as kind of we suspected, these shoes are probably going to be better suited to the runnable trails, things that you can attack, things that aren't really steep. Like some of the stuff out here, you know, you're feeling out of control, you're braking a lot. Maybe better technical runners would be able to deal with these shoes on that kind of terrain, but for your average runner, I think it's going to be too much. You wanted something a bit more stable. Definitely something with a little bit more grip. It was very wet out there. So, yeah, comfort-wise though, overall on the shoe, I've got no problems from toes bashing for that distance, 8 hours on feet. That's really good. They did slip a bit. I had to retie them and get a bit more of a secure lockdown. I did feel a bit more movement from the heels than I really wanted early on. But overall, toe box comfort, all of that kind of stuff. No hot spots, no blisters, no trouble. So, yeah, I still like the shoe. I would just choose them for more runnable trails. They are probably not the best if you're going to go steep, technical, slippy rocks, grass, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's me done. I will do the watch analysis back in the studio because I'm tired. And I'll talk to you about the sunglasses and also the Shokz as well back there. But yeah, for now, that is the Five Valleys Ultra done. Hey people, it's the morning after the race. So I did the Five Valleys Ultra yesterday, 56 kilometers, probably about 2,300 meters of climbing. Did it in just under 8 hours, managed to get in 53rd, I think, overall. I just wanted to have a little word about the race actually. This is the second year that this series has been running. It's by the company, by the Great Run Company, do the Great North Run, Great South Run. And yeah, overall the race I thought was super well organised. Everything from when we arrived for kit check, which was pretty fast, no big queues, the registration process, all of that, they flowed you through. It was just really well organised, stress-free, nice and easy. Trackers on the packs, which the live tracking on the day is really great as well. That service was good. And then, yeah, I just thought it was like a really nice warm welcome from everyone for this race. It just had a bit like a family kind of arm around sort of hug feel to it, which was really nice. And then the location, absolutely spectacular to be out here running in the lakes. So then I thought the course actually was challenging. I was wondering what we would get out there, whether this would be appropriate for kind of beginner runners. I just met someone at breakfast actually, this was their first ultra. So you can come and do it, but I think the ups, I think the max climb was maybe 600-700 meters. There was 2 of those big climbs and then 2 really steep descents. The climbs were difficult, they were punishing. I think the hardest bit was actually coming down those steep descents. It was very wet yesterday. It was very sort of slippery at times. The terrain was very technical. It's the kind of steepness that is sort of dragging you down and you have to sort of really put the brakes on to stop yourself. Now gifted descenders or trail runners down might find it a little bit easier. I found it really quite testing. It's not something that's my kind of natural wheelhouse, and I have to admit, coming off both the first and the second climbs, I was like, I think I'm going to go home. I've come here by mistake. But you get those 2 big climbs and descents done, and then actually the last bit, which is really quite nice, is runnable. It's more runnable and it eases out. So you put a lot of the kind of punishment happens up front, and then we got treated to glorious weather. And the other thing to say is the aid stations were really well stocked. There was 3 of them along the course, and they had everything that you would want, from pizza to rice pudding to the best bit was the Biscoff's donuts, mini donuts, which are ace. But sweets, electrolytes, Coke, everyone was super friendly, super helpful. Soup, there was everything really, and I thought that was a really nice kind of warm welcome. All of them actually had inside bits as well. They're in halls and stuff, which was really nice just to get out of the conditions. If it was a bit wet, that's a nice touch as well. And then you've got this kind of glorious finish that you come in around the back of Keswick by the lake, and there's we had a glorious kind of backdrop with the sun dropping. The only thing I will say about that, as you come through the town, you know that you're about 200 meters from the finish line, and then they sort of turn you right and swing you all the way out for another kind of what felt like about 3/4 of a mile. Probably isn't that much to get back in. And at that point I was like, oh, why have you done that? That got to the psyche a little bit. I get why they do it, because you get this kind of glorious finish with the photographs coming back down to the lake, but it did feel a little bit cruel at that point. The only other thing yeah, I mean, other than that, I thought, you know, you get these really nice slate medals, which are different and really nice at the end. There's teas and coffees and more stuff. As you cross the finish line, people clipping your tracker off, handing you a cup of water, looking after you. And it just felt very well done, actually. I thought it was very well organised. I think that's kind of something that you'd probably expect from the team behind such big races like the Great North and Great South Run. Overall, if you're thinking about this, I think if you're new to trail running, you might want to try the 22 first. There's a 2 valleys, 22 kilometre run. That might be a bit more in your wheelhouse if you're brand new to it. This 5 valleys is a definite test. And I felt on some of that really sort of steeper technical terrain, even for someone I've got experience of doing this, it was challenging, really challenging, and I found it quite hard. So that one is a step up, I'd say. I think for sure the 7 and then the 13 valleys are for people who got a lot of experience and have got a bigger ability to suffer. But overall, I thought this race was really great. We finished through Keswick here, got the moot hall behind me. When you come in through the town, it was like a magic finish. Got a good support from people in the town, and it's a lovely location to start and finish. So yeah, I thought it was a really well done race, and one I'd highly recommend. I would just be very careful about which of the races in the series that you decide to do, depending on your ability. And if you're going to come and do it, definitely try and get on some of the sort of steeper descents. I didn't, and I sort of paid for it. But yeah, anyway, time to go home. So during the 5 Valleys race, I had the Garmin Enduro 3 and the new Garmin Fenix 8 AMOLED 51mm in the same GPS and general settings. For both, I plugged the 5 Valleys route in and followed that course, so I was using the mapping throughout and that kind of real-time navigation. That is a factor when you're considering the battery burn stats that we'll go into in a minute. Now, the major differences here, the Enduro is lighter on the wrist, and I much prefer the nylon strap that you've got for getting a better fit. You can make smaller kind of micro adjustments to the strap here that you can't when you've got these kind of hole punch style silicone straps. That's something that I find really useful during ultras, where you might want to change and adjust as you go. That strap and the lighter weight, I think, make the Enduro marginally more comfortable. That's how I found it on race day. Now, the big bright AMOLED screen of the Fenix 8 was much better for following the course and seeing the detail on the maps during the race. I found both pretty easy to read in most lights. Sometimes I had to fire the Enduro 3 backlight to get more of that kind of visibility, but the screen on the Fenix 8 also just makes for a much better experience overall when you're doing the route navigation. Looking at the battery life then, over the 8 hours I raced, the Enduro 3 burned 14%, the Fenix 8 burned 15%. I expected to see a much bigger drop off from the Fenix 8 by comparison, so that was actually quite a surprise. When it comes to GPS and heart rate, the Fenix 8 clocked 35.99 miles, the Enduro 3 clocked 35.8 miles, the Enduro 2 that I had as well clocked 35.92 miles. The official course is listed at 35.1 miles, so that's pretty consistent across the board. Good performance, I would say, for GPS. Total elevation was a slightly different story. The Fenix 8 clocked 2,289 metres, the Enduro 3 2,253 metres, while the Enduro 2 had 2,303 metres, so a bit of difference there. Now, digging into the tracks, the Fenix 8 and the Enduro 3 both did a good job. They were both reliable, pinning me on the trails. We were mostly out in open, clear skies, so you'd kind of expect good performance. But over the 35 miles, there's very few signs of troubling deviations off the routes. None of them really go particularly wayward. Heart rate was a bit more hit and miss. Both the optical heart rate sensors had wobbles, but the Enduro 3 optical definitely struggled more. The main problems, occasionally spiking higher than the chest strap and dropping lower than that chest strap, that H10 that I was wearing at the aid stations when I was stopping. Then in the final 3 hours, where the course was probably more runnable and we were more consistent in terms of the movement, the Enduro 3 really struggled with a long period of reading far higher, way too high than the chest strap. The Fenix 8 also read high for a section, but nowhere near as off the beat as the Enduro 3. Now, moving on to the Shokz, I chose the new Shokz OpenRun Pro 2 headphones because I wanted something that would offer the best of both worlds for this race. Let me tune into the world around, but still have music when I needed a kick in the pants. Often during ultras, you're not really sure when you're going to want the music. Often it's not all the time. I also wanted something that was going to stay put on the steeper descents. Most in-ear buds aren't really going to stick in your ears when you're really battering down the steep lake trails. I wore the Shokz for the whole 8 hours. The neckband design here is great for just dropping them around your neck and forgetting that they're there. No fiddling with getting buds in and out of the case when you want to stop listening to music or listen to them again. It's really easy just to flip these up and put them back on the move as well without having to, again, fiddle around in a belt. Now, I wasn't playing music the whole time. Probably about 30% of the time I used 30% of the battery overall. And these are definitely short, ultra friendly. They may not last 100 kilometers for most runners though. Now generally I found the audio pretty standard for bone conductors, not as rich as you get from in-ears. Up top, high up on the wind, I found the audio didn't really have the punch to cut through sometimes, but in the valleys it was nicely solid. We also had 30 minutes of torrential rain in which they got very wet and survived okay, which is a good test for that IP55 water rating, no problems there. Overall, I'd be happy to choose these again for a race like this, though I think I'd probably still look at the OpenSwim Pro over the OpenRun Pro 2. You will sacrifice some battery life there, but for the same price, you're going to get the added durability and that MP3 Phone 3 playback option that you don't get on these. I was planning to use my trusted Tifosi Swix Sunnies for this one, but before the race I was actually given these Nike Fly Free Soar shades to test. Now they come with clever interchangeable lenses, so you can easily choose a tint that you want for different runs and conditions. There's a lens for road tints designed to block bright reflected light from hard surfaces. There's a terrain tint that increases the contrast for better perception on the uneven trails. Now I also really like the nicely adjustable nose bridge that you get here. It's great for tweaking them to fit my wonky busted nose, which I always struggle with. There's also a lot of flex in the arms, so you can really get a secure fit, and they held really well with almost zero bounce, even on those kind of heel crashing steep descents that I went down in the Lake District. They're pretty light as well with good coverage. I did get some fogging up at times from the lenses. I think that was mainly when I was blowing really hard on the steeper climbs, but overall I found them light, comfortable, protective, good coverage, good visibility. They are much pricier than I would usually pay for running sunnies, just because I tend to lose mine or break them, scratch them, all of those kind of things. But if you're more careful than me and you're looking for a good set of versatile running shades with this style, then these are worth a look. So there you have it. That's been my race test of the Five Valleys Ultra and the ASICS Metafuji Trail. Bunch of other kit in there as well too. Got one of these. Look at that lovely slate medal. You'll get one of these as well if you want to sign up for next year. You can do 22k of 55k. There is a longer 7 valleys, which I think is 110k's, and then there's a big beast of 180k race out there. Entries are open now. Go check it out. Hope you found that useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell, do all of that kind of stuff. Thanks as ever for stopping by and listening to me talk about kit and races. And yeah, hope to see you again soon on the channel. In the meantime, happy running, everyone.